Attorney General Jeff Sessions visited Austin today, promoting the Trump administration's immigration policy. KXAN's Wes Rappaport brings us his message and the protests it brought.
U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions calls the country's immigration laws the most generous in the world, ready for a change.
And we're finally getting serious about illegal immigration.
As immigration and disability rights advocates demonstrated outside, Sessions spoke to a group of law enforcement officials in Austin to reaffirm President Trump's priorities.
The principles he laid out with every aspect of our immigration problems are dealt with. Everything from border security to interior enforcement to closing loopholes in our asylum program.
In addition to the border wall, Sessions says President Trump wants to hire thousands more immigration and customs enforcement officers, attorneys, prosecutors, and judges to streamline deportation for illegal immigrants.
I didn't actually realize that I was illegal until I was in middle school.
Vincent Nunez's mother brought him to the U.S. when he was just 3. When she died, he helped raise his 3 American-born siblings.
Worked 60 hours a week just to get by.
He's a recipient of the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, or DACA, which the current administration is working to dismantle. He and his wife Emily now in limbo.
We're hoping and praying for the best, but we do have to plan for the worst.
DACA encouraged potentially tens of thousands of vulnerable children to make a trip to the north.
Sessions outlined examples of DACA recipients who went on to commit violent crimes and said 2,000 have had their status withdrawn. Nunez hopes he isn't next.
I would hate for all the DACA recipients to lose everything they've built.
Wes Rappaport, KXAN News.
Sessions also praised the state's ban on sanctuary cities, threatening to cut funding for communities not following federal immigration directives.
I disagreed with most everything he said this morning.
And that was Travis County Sheriff Sally Hernandez. She was one of the law enforcement leaders who met with Sessions. While she disagrees on his stance, Hernandez says she's glad she went.
When you stand on an issue, you plant a seed. And I guess my biggest hope is maybe I planted a seed.
Earlier this year, Travis County stopped granting ICE detainer requests for most crimes until a judge ruled they had to grant all of them to comply with Senate Bill 4. For some perspective now, we turn to NBC's Chuck Todd. And Chuck, with the Attorney General's visit to Austin today, what are you hearing when it comes to any deal to allow Dreamers to stay in the U.S.?
Well, look, there's still this end of the year deadline, but I have a feeling it's going to get extended. They're in the negotiating phase. There seems to be general agreement that Dreamers are going to be protected and that this is going to be passed in a law of Congress so that you don't have to have an executive order that potentially could get challenged in the courts. So I think we're a little farther away, though, from a December deal. I think we were closer before, but I think now the president's base has pushed back a little bit, and I think he wants a little bit more in border security money. Let's see what happens. Look, some of this could all be intertwined with the health care compromise. There's a budget. They still have to pass a budget by the end of the year to keep the lights on. It's possible this all gets thrown into one giant set of bills that they try to deal with at the last week before the Christmas break. I think that's a possible time frame of when you might see DACA dealt with. But I've also heard the president talk about extending the protection another 6 months. So he may temporarily extend protections for those Dreamers so that Congress has more time to cut a deal. I do think the idea of having it wrapped up by the end of the year is starting to slip.